Welcome everyone to this episode of the Palmetto Guardian. I'm Sergeant Chelsea Baker.
And I'm Specialist David Erskine. And we have a unique format for you today. We're just going to intro, and then we're going to turn it over to the people from the safety office.
Hi, I'm Chief Brown, and this is my safety team. Mr. McFarland, Staff Sergeant Addis, and Mr. Reeves. Today we'll be talking about summer safety. One of the things we will talk about today is hurricanes, heat, grilling safety, and back to school and holidays. Right now we're in the month of August, one of the hot months of the year. We just made it through July, which was the hottest and probably the most dangerous month of the year. At all times, remember, with the heat, you must always hydrate, try to limit your time in the sun, and make sure you know what the weather is at all times. Next, we'll go into the hurricane safety.
Yes. One thing you want to be aware of during hurricane season is to always make a plan. Think about some of the important things your family might need, or some of your friends and your loved ones. Always make sure you're going to do stuff like locate the nearest shelters. Identify them in case you do have to evacuate your house. You know exactly where you're going to be going and all the stuff that you're going to need. Identify your evacuation routes. Not all interstates will be traveling in the same direction during an evacuation. So making sure you identify your avenues of escape in case you have to evacuate to get to your places of shelter. Another thing you want to do while making the plan is think about your vehicles. Make sure you get your vehicles in order. Make sure you got a full tank of gas. Make sure you're up on your proper maintenance. Make sure you have proper air in your tires. Check your oil, check your brakes. You don't want to be in a situation where you're trying to evacuate and your vehicle will not operate properly. In addition to that, you might want to gather your emergency supplies. Make sure you stock up on all food and water. Canned goods are really good in cases of emergency. Make sure you have a can opener. You don't want to have a bunch of cans and not being able to open them. Have all your required medicines. Make sure you go to your pharmacy, get all your necessary medicines, your pain medicine, blood pressure, anything that you're on. Make sure you get all of that stuff. Flashlights. Gather your flashlights, any kind of lighting source in case there's a power failure. Make sure you have extra batteries on hand. Make sure you have a weather radio so you can listen in case of a power failure. Most times, weather radios can give you updates on the storm, if it's approached, is there anything else that you need to know about the storm. If you have generators or backup generators, make sure you have proper fuel, propane fuel. If you need a heat source to cook some of your food, grilling is a great option. If you're going to grill, make sure you have charcoal or some kind of fuel source to cook your food. In addition to the wind and rain, there's a lot of flooding that's associated with hurricanes. If that's the case, make sure you have PPE on hand to help you in those situations. Some PPE you might want to have is a flotation device in case there are flooding. Make sure you have gloves, rubber gloves in case there's water is contaminated, nitrile gloves. Make sure you have masks, hand sanitizers, and also make sure you have a stock first aid kit on hand. Other things that are important, during the flood, there's a lot of times you lose important documentation if your home is going to be destroyed. So make sure you gather all of your important documentations like medical documents, your wills, passports, identification, and even your family photos if necessary. You can put these things in a sealed container or a large gallon-sized Ziploc bags, or they make the bags even larger sometimes. And last but not least, try to get your home ready. If your home is going to be in the direct path of the storm, you might want to board your windows, your doors and your shutters and stuff. If you have things in your yard that might be blown away with the wind, swing sets, play sets, dog houses, toys, grills, anything that's on your back deck. You might want to take those things and move them inside, or even secure them or strap them down so they won't be blown. I've read many times where in subdivisions and in most neighborhoods, stuff that was in your backyard ends up 4 or 5 blocks away. So the wind can really move stuff along. So just be cognizant of that.
Also remember on the military side to prepare your vehicles for fording. So when you enter high water, you don't drown that vehicle. Also make sure to have your life jackets ready, as well as anybody that comes across a down tree or power line. Make sure all your soldiers are able to operate chainsaws. We're looking at trying to get some training done later on in the year, and hopefully we'll be able to get some done before the hurricanes get too severe. Always remember in the month of August as well, this hurricane season usually starts from June 1st to November 30th, but August is your most active season, from August to about October, and then it starts dying off in November. So always remember to prepare yourself on the military side as well as prepare your families.
All right, to caveat one thing, Chief, on the generators, if you're going to use a generator, please make sure it's outside. Make sure it's vented, because carbon monoxide deaths are a real thing when it comes to emergency power. Next topic is going to be holiday safety. I know we're talking holidays and it's August and it's hot, but Labor Day is the last official holiday of the summer season. And according to the NSC, there's about 400 deaths a year on that one weekend. So be cautious. Don't get in a hurry. Take your time. There's a lot of barbecues going on, family events, but grill safety. People get severely burned with grills often. All right, just make sure you're using it in a location that's not around too much combustible materials, yard fodder, leaf piles, things like that. If you're using charcoal and lighter fluid, be careful, especially if the day's hot. The lighter fluid will vaporize. It can cause a flash. And, of course, with propane, just same thing. Just make sure that you're using it properly. Read your owner's manual for your grill. A lot of people go to the water this time of year, whether swimming or boating. Make sure your boat's in good shape. Make sure you're reaching, you're staying within state guidelines for having PFDs. Make sure somebody knows where you are when you're leaving, when you're coming back. And if you're swimming, don't swim alone. And make sure if you're swimming in the rivers, be cautious, because we could get a flash thunderstorm, as we previously mentioned, and it could be a water surge and cause a shift in current. Alcohol, everybody drinks alcohol this time of year. A lot of people do. Anyway, but limit your consumption. If you're gonna have a group of people over, take responsibility and tell them if they're too drunk to drive, don't let them drive. Get them a taxi. We got Uber, Lyft, and a handful of other services to get you where you need to be. And if you're going to drink, plan for a designated driver. That's an old method that we've used for years.
Or just don't drink at all.
Yeah, or just don't drink. Yeah, just don't drink at all. One more thing we'd like to mention is Halloween's coming up. I know it's a month or so away, but still, a lot more kids get hit by cars on the road in neighborhoods. So you're doing what? 10 to 20 miles an hour maybe, and kids are getting hit. So make sure that when you buy your kid a Halloween costume, that it's reflective, that people, that they can, when a car's headlights hit it, it lights up. Second thing is protect your children by being with them. Don't let them get too far away from you. There's still bad people out there in the world, so we got to do our part to keep them safe. And always inspect the treats your kids get from other people, unless you know them personally or it's family. And drivers out there, just slow down, especially on Halloween night. It's on a Saturday this year, so slow down.
They say kids are more than twice as likely to get hit on Halloween than any other time of the year.
Yep.
So,
very, very dangerous time.
Yes, sir.
I just want to hit on yours, Terry. That float plan, that is very important. A lot of people go out and think that, hey, I've been doing this for 25, 30 years. Anything can happen. Bump your head, you're out. in the water. Nobody knows where you were. So that float plan is really important. And your kill switch, when you're operating any watercraft, it kills that engine prop immediately. So if somebody else is thrown out or something, you can snatch, and that stops that prop immediately. And you don't risk injuring somebody else just along with you.
Good deal.
I'm gonna go ahead and hit back to school traffic safety. Just back to school safety in general for children. It's coming up on us quick. It's just going to be a couple of days a week this year. But the children getting on the buses, that's where the majority of your traffic accidents happen, and they're usually children that are 7 and under. Let's treat the lights on the buses, the yellow lights, let's go ahead and treat them as stop lights. Yes. These kids are just running out. They're excited to get back to school. I'm excited for them to get back to school. And your high school kids, 20% of those admit that they're walking around looking at their phone. So that's only 20%. I know I wouldn't admit to nothing, even if it was good when I was in high school. So there's probably 100% of them walking around. They're in a crosswalk. You're not paying attention to the crosswalk because you're looking at your phone, and bad things happen. That's all I got.
Okay. With the school coming back in, also remember young drivers.
Yes.
I have a 14-year-old. She wants to drive all the time. No, I'm not letting her get in the car. Love her to death, but you don't want anything to happen to your children. So be mindful that young people make mistakes, and don't let your car rage get you into a worse accident than what it is. Remember those young drivers. Also, just remember that as young kids cross the street, a lot of times I get up to go to the gym early in the morning. It's dark because of the time change. And a lot of kids don't have on reflective clothing. So you got to drive really slow in neighborhoods and just in other neighborhoods because you won't pay attention to those kids crossing the street. So put a backpack on your child that has something reflective so when the light hits it, you can see them and it will remind you to slow down. Because we'll always have those mornings when we're in a rush. We're not paying attention to the speed limit. We have to get to where we want to be at, and we need to be more cognizant that there are other people out there that's, going to school. I like to run early in the morning, so I make sure to have on my reflective gear. I got the armbands that flash. I got the headlight, so I look like a human car with headlights and lights flashing and everything else. So make sure you're mindful of people when you get up early in the morning and trying to get to work. Are there any other topics we'd like to touch on?
I'd also like to add also for the traffic safety, allow extra time to get to work. For the last 2 or 3 months, many of us been getting up at the same time doing the same routine. With these extra people on the road now, especially we got school buses on I-77 and I-20 now. Just allow extra time. If you normally leave at 6:45 to get to work at 7:30, you might want to leave at 6:30. Give you an extra 15 minutes to allow for the extra time for the extra traffic and those little brand new drivers and these kids and everybody else that's back on the road for this time of the year.
Well, we got one more thing with back to school. It's an odd topic to cover, but PPE, parents, soldiers, make sure your kids got PPE if they need it. Schools are supposed to provide it, but if takes a little proactive action to make sure they do. And teach them what the social distance thing is and how important it is right now. I mean, our whole dynamics changed over the last 4 or 5 months. So, we just got to teach them to, to be socially responsible at this point.
One other thing also, talk about heat injury preventions. Just because summer is almost over doesn't mean that we're still not out training and stuff. So be aware if you're going to be out doing activities in the yard, yard work, raking, cutting grass and stuff, make sure you wear loose fit clothing still. Still hot. The official end of summer is, I think, September 22nd. So, and it doesn't cool off actually until October.
End of
January.
October, November. Yeah, January.
January.
So,
for South Carolina, right?
Believe it or not, you can overheat even in cool weather. So
Right.
Still hydrate, work rest cycles. Just be mindful of the heat. Drink a lot of water.
Another thing to kind of watch out for are motorcycle riders. I don't ride because the first time I did, it looked more like a rodeo as opposed to riding a motorcycle.
I was there.
But anyway, had a couple issues to where soldiers feel that once they take off their uniform that they're invincible or they don't have to follow regulations or wear PPE. In the 385.10, it does state that you will wear PPE regardless of the duty status. So always, same thing with your mask. Wear your mask all the time when you're in uniform and out of uniform. But back to your motorcycles, wear that PPE. We've seen enough motorcycle accidents this year to scare you. And it doesn't take but one, and the severity is ungodly. So please wear those helmets. Please put on your reflective vest, your protective boots, gloves, the whole 9 yards to protect yourself while you're riding that motorcycle.
Yeah, and we offer the training for free, and as Chief alluded to, AR 38510, it mandates it. It's not it's not if you feel like it. If you're a soldier, DA civilian, you must take the training. It's just required every 5 years. And there's a couple of different caveats, but we won't go into that. And if you want to take it, all you got to do is contact anybody in the safety office. We'll get you signed up. All right, thanks.
Gentlemen,
I think
anything
we're
else
good.
that we missed?
I don't think so.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to thank you for your time. This is the Safety Office. Be safe. We love you. Bye.
All right, and there we go. There's your safety update from the South Carolina National Guard Safety Office. Hopefully we'll be having more updates from them, maybe on a monthly basis as we move forward, keeping everybody out there safe and happy and healthy and all the things that matter. Outside of that, you want to bring us on in, Sergeant Baker?
Sure. If you like this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the bell for notifications when we post new videos, and we will catch you in the next episode.